Hello and welcome to today's lesson on energy systems, which is part of the energy topic in GCSE Separate Science and GCSE Combined Science Physics. So in today's lesson we're going to try to understand energy systems. So if we're successful in today's lesson, we should be able to define what energy and a system is, describe all the changes in which energy is stored in a system, and look at the processes by which energy can change store in a system. So we're going to be looking at the following part of the GCSE AQA Combined Science and Separate Science specification. It's energy stores and energy systems in the energy topic. So in previous lessons we've looked at the concept of energy. Now energy is the ability to do work found in an object and is measured in joules. Now energy can only be observed when it's being transferred in the universe. Now energy can also be stored in different ways in the universe. Now a group of objects which energy can transfer between is called a system. Now if the energy only transfers between the objects and goes nowhere else, we call this a closed system. Now the total energy in a closed system is always the same. Now if when the energy is transferred some energy is dissipated to the internal energy of the surroundings, the system is an open system. So the total energy in an open system will change. Now energy can be stored in objects in the system. Now these objects are called energy stores. Now there are 8 ways in which energy can be stored in objects in a system, and each one is due to a way in which the object is behaving. So the 8 different energy stores are as follows: thermal energy store, chemical energy store, kinetic energy store, magnetic energy store, elastic potential energy store, gravitational potential energy store, nuclear energy store, and elastic energy store. Now the thermal energy store is when the energy stored due to an object being heated up. This is also called the internal energy. Now the kinetic energy store is when the energy is stored due to an object moving. The chemical energy store is when energy is stored due to having chemical bonds in a structure. The elastic potential energy store is energy stored due to an object being stretched. The magnetic energy store is the energy stored due to an object being attracted or repelled by a magnet. The gravitational potential energy store is the energy stored due to an object being placed high above the surface of the Earth. The electrostatic energy store is the energy stored due to an object having attraction or repulsion due to electrical fields. And the nuclear energy store is the energy stored in the nucleus of an atom. Now remember, light, sound and energy and electricity are not stores of energy. Now energy can be transferred between different stores. So for example, the kinetic energy store can turn into an elastic potential energy store. Now here the energy being stored in the system is changing how it is being stored. Now this can occur in one object if it starts to behave differently in the system. Now there are also a number of ways in which energy can move between energy stores. So the first way energy can move between stores is energy can be transferred by a force doing work. The second way is energy being transferred when a current flows, so electrically. You can also have energy being transferred due to heating, and we can also have energy transferred due to radiation. Now light and sound is energy being transferred between stores by radiation. Now like we mentioned before, if energy completely transfers between stores, this is called a closed system. Now on a large scale the universe is a closed system. No energy can escape the universe or get into the universe. All energy in the universe was produced at the Big Bang. Now if energy transfers between energy stores and some is dissipated into the surroundings, this is called an open system. So most systems in our universe are open systems. Now when describing energy transfers between stores, you must also state the way by which the energy changes store. So for example, a fast car braking to a standstill. So it starts off moving and then goes to a standstill. So it starts off as a kinetic energy store of the car, and as it then transfers energy, it does so by a force. So it's work done by a force, the braking force, and this heats up the brakes, so it goes to the thermal energy store of the brakes. But because it's an open system, some energy will be transferred to the internal energy store of the surroundings. Another example is boiling water with a battery powered kettle. So a battery has energy due to chemical energy stored in the battery. So that's our starting energy. Now it's by electricity because we're in a circuit now. So work is done by an electrical current, and this heats up the water. So it goes to the thermal energy store of the water. But because it's an open system, some of the energy will dissipate into the internal energy store of the surroundings. Another example is a plane coming into landing. Now a plane starts off very high up above the surface of the earth, so therefore it starts off as a gravitational potential energy store. Work is then done by a force. It literally is pulled down to the surface of the earth, so that then turns into a kinetic energy store of a plane, but it will also dissipate some energy to the internal energy store of the surroundings as it's an open system. Another example is a ball thrown up into the air. So you throw a ball up into the air, so it is moving, so it has a kinetic energy store. It is carried out by a force. This is the force of gravity in this instance, and it will turn the energy into the gravitational potential energy store of the ball as it's high above the surface of the earth. But because it's an open system, some of the energy is transferred to the internal energy store of the surroundings. So energy is the ability for an object to do work in the universe. Now the energy can be stored in 8 different ways: thermal, kinetic, gravitational potential, elastic potential, magnetic, electrostatic, chemical, and nuclear. Now energy can be transferred in 4 ways: doing work with a force, by the movement of charge, electrically, by heating, or by radiation. So a system is a term for an object or groups of objects. When a system changes, energy is transferred either between objects or between systems. Now closed systems are systems where neither matter nor energy can leave or enter. The net change in the total energy of a closed system is 0. Now the rules which govern energy changing between stores in a system is called thermodynamics, and there are 3 laws of thermodynamics. Law 1: the total energy before is the same as the total energy after. Energy cannot be created, energy cannot be destroyed, only transferred between objects in systems. Law 2: when energy is transferred between objects, some of the energy is transferred into energy which you do not want, which is wasted energy, so we can also call this dissipated energy. So dissipated energy is always produced. And finally, law 0: all energy transfers between stores obey laws 1 and laws 2, every single one of them. So law 1 indicates to us the universe is a closed system because the total energy in the system remains the same. Law 2 indicates to us though that individual systems in our universe are open systems. Whenever you have an energy transfer going on in a system, some energy is always dissipated to the internal energy of the surroundings. So let's summarize what we've learned in today's lesson. A system is an object or group of objects, and there are changes in the way in which energy is stored when a system changes. You should be able to describe all the changes involved in the way energy is stored in a system when it changes. For example, all common situations, such as an object being projected upwards, a moving object hitting an obstacle, an object accelerating by a constant force, a vehicle slowing down, and bringing water to boil in an electrical current. Now you should also be able to calculate the changes in energy involved when a system is changed by either heating, work done by forces, or work done when a current flows. So if we've been successful and learnt in today's lesson, we should be able to define what energy and what a system is, describe all the changes in which energy is stored in a system, and look at the processes by which energy can change store in a system. I hope you've enjoyed today's lesson on energy systems, which is part of the advanced energy topic in GCSE Separate Science and GCSE Combined Science. Thank you very much for listening to today's lesson, and have a lovely day.